All right, you intermediate algebra students, we're going to start section 7.3. This will be the last chapter that we will do in chapter 7, or I should say section, and it's a little bit of a review. The book actually calls this section graph of functions, and we will be looking at graph of functions, but it turns out that almost like 80-90% of it is all about lines, so it's a really good review of lines. So let's go back to chapter 3, a review of it from the very beginning. And there are basically three line forms that we can use when we're talking about a line. There's the general form, the slope-intercept form. What's nice about this form is it tells us what the slope is right away, and it tells us what the y-intercept is. And so because of those two pieces of information, we can immediately start graphing. And then, of course, the point-slope form, it's a little crazy to look at, but this fraction sitting in front of there's the slope. And then this is x1 and y1, and so we also have a data point. So the point slope form, it gives us a point, it gives us a slope, and again we can easily graph. All right, and then of course this one we either convert to slope-intercept form, or we just start our point plotting routine if we want to go through that to graph this one. With regard to functions, it turns out that the slope-intercept form is the way to go, because remember we're replacing the y with f of x. And so as soon as I make that replacement, how about I call it g of x for the moment, then basically the slope-intercept form is readily available for function form. So we're going to see a lot of this since we're talking about functions in chapter 7. The way we want to present our lines is in slope-intercept form, despite the fact that we have two other ways to do it. So for the general form, the idea to put it in function form is we got to solve for y, so I'll subtract 3x from both sides, and then divide everybody by 2, and keep in mind there's two fractions there. There's negative 3 halves x, and then 6 divided by 2 is a positive 3. And so this is now telling us we have a slope of negative 3 halves and a y-intercept of 0, 3, and it's just as easy. Since it's now in slope-intercept form, to distinguish it from this line, maybe we call this function f of x. So this line is the f function, f of x, and this line is the g of x function, g of x. So again, we're just reviewing lines in a function form. Here again, this one we're in point-slope form. So to get it in slope-intercept form, we essentially solve for y. So the first move would probably be to distribute. When I distribute that, 4 times 3 is 12. We divide it by 3. And we get 4. And then we add 1 to both sides, and we get y equals 4/3 x minus 3. So this graph has a slope of 4/3 and a y-intercept of 0, negative 3. Of course, since it's now in slope-intercept form, we can give it a function name. We've already used this as the function f. That's the function g. So how about we call this the function h? Okay, so again, nice review of lines, but we're talking functions in chapter 7, and so we're going to be using function language. So if you're already in slope-intercept form, just replace the y with a function name. If it's not in slope-intercept form, solve for y, like you know the algebra to do, and then give it a function name. All right, so next thing is how do we graph, and that'll be the next video.